Hello, it's bonus time, and a big week for gaming as we're in the afterglow of E3. Leading off with Bethesda with Doom, Fallout 4, and Dishonored 2. And then there was what? There was Microsoft with backwards compatibility. And, I'm sure there were some games as well. And then, of course, Sony with Uncharted 4, Final Fantasy VII Remaster. A whole bunch of stuff has been announced. Very exciting time for all. Of course, it doesn't start coming out until the autumn, so now we just have to sit and wait and catch up on our Steam sales backlog. The footage this week, I am playing Dirt Rally. A break from the earlier games, it's a little bit more simulator focused, a bit more realistic, and I'm terrible at it, but I kind of like it. I'm doing an event in Wales, in Powys, which is why it's muddy and gloomy. I'm in the wrong league, I think. I got promoted by the skin of my teeth last time, and now I'm lucky if I finish middle of the pack, but I suppose maybe that's, what you're supposed to do. Anyway, let's get some questions. Kian Griffiths says, ever been to Wales, Stu? I have a couple of times. I remember a family holiday I had when I was a boy. We went to Pwllheli, to the Butlins that was there. Yeah, that was alright, I guess. I got terribly sick. I picked up a bug in the swimming pool and I proceeded to vomit for the rest of the holiday, which I think we cut short. So that was nice. Another time that I remember, I went to the University of Glamorgan for an interview. It came down at the end between Glamorgan and Sunderland, and I eventually chose Sunderland. And I kind of wish I chose Glamorgan. It's a bit isolated out of there. The nearest civilization is probably Cardiff. I don't suppose Pontypridd counts. I remember the guy who interviewed me. He was a very nice fellow called Hugh Swain, who I like to imagine is like a Welsh version of Batman. A mild-mannered professor during the day, but at night he patrols the Vales. I've just noticed there's a mouse cursor stuck on the screen on Dirt Rally. That wasn't there when I was playing. I'll blame Shadowplay for that one. Anyway. Just a random person says, so Stu, have you seen the teaser trailer for Fallout 4? If so, what do you think of it? Are you excited for a new Fallout game? Very much so, yes. It is with some reticence that I admit that Fallout 3 was my introduction to the series. The originals slipped me by, alas. But no, I got into Fallout 3, obviously, bought into the whole marketing hype train, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love games that have a sense of exploration. No pressure, no pace, just a massive open world and oodles of stuff to do. And it seems like Fallout 4 is pretty much more of the same. So, yeah, do you know what? I reckon it might be quite good. I think of all the games announced to this E3, Fallout 4 is probably the one that I'm most confident in buying. Another would probably be Forza 6, because I'm a big fan of the Forza series, and I know, they're consistent in quality. Apart from that, I'm hedging my bets on everything else, like I haven't pre-ordered Arkham Knight, which is out next week, I think, or is it out now? I don't know. They've not been doing a great job of marketing there. But yes, very excited for Fallout 4. Roger Toledo says, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Need for Speed? I don't think I've had any yet. I'm not even sure what it's called or when it's coming out. That's the trouble with the Need for Speed series. They've released so many games. It feels like they've started to repeat themselves. Aren't they going to do like a new version of Underground? I've lost track. I mean, I like the Underground games, but they've already done them. So I don't know. Mega Marcus 96 says, are there plans in the future for Black Ops 3 reviews? Honestly, I don't know. I think one thing I can say confidently is that I won't be spending an entire year on another Call of Duty. It's just too long. I mean, even Black Ops 2, I felt things peter out around about February, March. After the Christmas bump, it just dies off. And it's a slow death, but still, you do lose momentum. Another part of me thinks that, Call of Duty's the past, focus on the future, focus on the multi-game videos. But obviously, I've got a large fan base built up on Call of Duty, so the prospect of doing a short 6-part series, maybe one video per weapon category, that's a possibility. I'm not going to promise anything. But if I really like the game, and if I find myself playing it, then yeah, maybe I could do like 6 10-minute videos, something like that. It would take me a couple of months, but, yeah, it might be alright. Maxima21 says, hey Stu, now that the Fallout 4 trailer has come out, what do you think of the public's rather harsh reaction to the in-game graphics being shown? Graphics never really have been Bethesda's strong suit. It looks a lot better than Fallout 3, and that's good enough for me. I suppose if you want the impressive stuff, you'll have to leave that for the modders. Yegi says, hey Stu, you've mentioned a not-so-brief history of games from France. How about a similar format about Polish games? I think it would make for an interesting tale, being a mixture of folklore and traditionalistic design choices, and the constant dream of making it into the Western markets. That's what often makes them classics to be remembered as a different bunch. I think Poland are up there for the second tier of selections. I think it'll probably come down to either Poland or Scandinavia. I'm not sure what part of Scandinavia, but maybe Fenno-Scandinavia, maybe Finland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, collectively. The group that gave us Battlefield and Angry Birds, amongst a whole bunch of other stuff. The Fenno-Scandinavia was quite heavily involved in the demo scene, so there's a strong heritage of home computer use there. Poland is the same, but I think due to the fact that they are slightly less economically advanced, what happened is Poland adopted systems a couple of years later than Western Europe. For instance, I remember on the Amiga, by 1994 and 1995, most British, most American, most Western European publishers had stopped making games for the Amiga. But people in Poland, the Eastern Bloc to a certain extent, they didn't. They stuck with the Amiga a couple of years longer. And I was a bit of a die-hard Amiga fan, so I was quite grateful for, these new games coming from Eastern Europe. So I do think there is quite an interesting story to be told about Polish games. It's kind of a borderlands between Western European culture and Slavic and Russian culture. So there are familiar elements, like a lot of the folklore behind The Witcher 3 is familiar to me from British folklore, from European folklore. I mean, it is European folklore, that's the whole point. But there's a slightly different angle on it, a slightly alien take on it, which is, it's interesting. Then, of course, we can talk about the actual culture of platform in Poland, because I guess when console marketers are looking at what regions to market to, they kind of draw a line at Germany, and then they think, all right, that'll do for Europe, we'll stop there. So as a result, I think 90% of people in Poland play on PC. Massive, massive saturation of PC gaming in Poland. To the point, you'd have to be an idiot to play on a console in Poland. You can make the argument that in, Britain, yeah, all right, you'd have to be an idiot there as well. PC's cheap, all right, but, at least your friends are going to have PS4s and stuff. So anyway, yes, Poland is, I think, after France, a strong contender. It gives me a chance to do what I want to do with these videos, which is to try and sort of highlight some of the differences, some of, the different influences on gaming culture within different countries. The Extended Reach says, "Hey Stu, was someone using a blender during the recording of the audio for this bonus? I was convinced I could hear it. Maybe I'm just going mad." Good news, you're not going mad. It was just, it's British summertime, so unfortunately someone was mowing their lawn whilst I was recording. I'm lucky there's nothing today, actually, because, next door I've been doing some work. They've been banging and sawing and drilling and all sorts of stuff. I don't know what they're doing, but they've been making a right racket. Sandwich 24/7 says, "Any plans on Fallout 4 separate content on this channel or on your main channel in the near future? Will you cover it in any way when it comes out?" No concrete plans, but you can pretty much guarantee that Fallout 4 will turn up in videos going forward. I don't really have any formats that revolve around a single game, except for, the weapons of and 101 things to do. But to be honest, I prefer doing multi-game videos. I like that they're less contingent on a given game's success or popularity. And I know Fallout 4 is pretty much guaranteed to be popular, but still, I don't know. Maxime Manus says, "What are your thoughts on Hatred? And have you thought about getting it?" I haven't bought it yet. It was pretty controversial, but really, it's just a reimagining of Postal with slightly better graphics, isn't it? If I was ever going to talk about the topic of controversy or, censorship, then I might pick it up, but until then, I'm content to wait for a sale. I'd pay a few quid for it, I suppose. It is quite a talked about game, and I do like to pick up games that are popular in at least one sense. But as far as playing the game, not really that bothered about it, to be honest. The reviews are not that great, but I suppose that's not important. Saltenberg says, "Red Faction series, yay or nay? 2 was personally my favourite." I think I played 2 briefly at a friend's house, but the Red Faction game I've spent the most time playing is Guerrilla, which was really good, actually. I think the one that followed that was a little bit disappointing. They kind of took away what, made Guerrilla great, which is smashing up buildings and stuff. But yeah, no, I enjoyed Guerrilla for what it was. It's nice to destroy buildings with a hammer. Critical Hit says, "Hey Stu, do you still play Euro Truck Sim 2? And if so, do you own the Scandinavian DLC?" I'm not playing it at the minute, but I was playing it a couple of months ago. I had a resurgence of interest in it. I haven't bought the Scandinavian DLC yet. I'm going to wait until it's a little bit cheaper. Maybe the next time I get back into Euro Truck, I'll pick it up then. I figure there's no point in buying a DLC if I'm not currently playing the game. Chris Wilson says, how did you and your wife meet? Well, actually, we both went to the same high school, although we didn't end up getting together until after university. Colt Mason says, have you ever tried shepherd's pie? If so, what do you think of it? I have. I've had a few in my time. I've made a few in my time as well. As far as what I think of it, well, you can't go wrong with meat and potatoes. Andrew B says, hey Stu, do you think peace is pointless? Essentially, peace can only be achieved if everyone is happy. And that sounds unrealistic. I think humans are too developed mentally, and there will always be someone with a different vision of peace. Is utopia just a myth? War and peace is a topic of nuclear fruit. The basic idea of the series is that video games are at least in part a product of the Cold War. And I'll dance around the ethical conundrum, is it okay to derive fun from human conflict and suffering? To read directly from the script, in the nuclear weapons episode, an embodiment of war, a currency of peace, and yet what a price to pay. I think a hard pacifism is a naive outlook, but peace is always preferable to war. I mean, it all gets a bit Orwellian. Peace is war, war is peace, that sort of thing. But war and peace do have an awful lot in common. Peace is the shadow of power, and war is its caustic. We are in a very peaceful time, but it's only because there's a hegemonical power, America. You could call this Pax Americanus, and it's a funny sort of peace. I mean, you might think, especially if you live in the Middle East. But it's a kind of global peace. Similar thing happened with the British Empire, Pax Britannicus, and then the Roman Empire as well. When there is a large power, they can exert sufficient control to stabilize the planet. But of course, everyone must bend to their will. So it's all very shades of grey. There isn't really an ethical, clear solution. There's no right, there's no wrong. Build a utopia and someone will just see a new surface to graffiti. Fishy Swasko57 says, what's your favourite flag, Stu? Do you have any interest in vexillology? Do you know, I suppose I do. I do actually have a flag collection. And I'm not talking about cheap printed flags either. I'm talking proper sewn cotton or silk constructions. What have I got? I have got a United Kingdom flag, which I bought for Behind the Lines. Proper sewn. I had that made. I have an absolutely colossal American flag. It's about the same size as a king-size bed. It's huge. I bought that on eBay, and I believe it was acquired from a military base in Puerto Rico. I don't know why, I don't know how. All I know is it was on eBay, and I bought it. And what else do I have? I've got a Ukrainian SSR flag, the old Soviet Ukraine flag, which is the normal red field with the hammer and sickle in yellow in the top left, with a blue band on the bottom. I don't know where that came from. Probably somewhere Eastern Bloc, someone selling it off. You find a lot of people from like Latvia selling old Soviet stuff off. So I think those are my three prize collections. I've got some other stuff as well. I've got some, cheap printed ones. The huge US flag is probably my favourite, but in terms of design, my favourite flag probably goes to Bavaria, which is the kind of the blue and white checkerboard pattern, the rhombus grid. It's nice, it's striking. I like that. Gunther Herman says, hey Stu, have you ever gotten into trouble with the law? Do you know what? Never, not once. Never been arrested. Never been charged with anything, never even received a fine, I don't think. Which is quite surprising, considering I've got an array of heat lamps in the loft. They're actually for tortoises, that's where the tortoises live. But I live in fear of a no-knock raid for our thermal signature at night, as they smash down our door and, they fail to hear our feeble pleas of, reptiles, they're just reptiles! George Durston says, hey Stu, are you a cereal man? I do enjoy muesli, but I don't eat it out of habit. I'm not really a big believer in breakfast. I kind of start off with regular meals. I don't stick to a 24-hour cycle, so I shouldn't have to stick to a stupid rule that says you have to eat subpar foods for breakfast. So, if I've got leftover pizza, then yeah, guess what's for breakfast? Nice shepherd's pie? Don't see why not. Jonas Turgerson says, as a man who enjoys a good beer, have you ever considered getting into home brewing? I have, yes. If I had decent space, if I had like a working garage space, I'd consider doing it, but I don't really have that much space. And it is easier just to buy beer, so yeah, convenience wins out. Justin Steinberg says, Stu, are you going to buy the Uncharted collection on PS4? Possibly, if it's cheap. I already own the 3 Uncharted games, so I don't know, I'd be buying games that I already own. But they would look nicer and they'd run better, so maybe. I mean, it depends on how cheap it is. I might pick it up some point after launch. Sly Cooper says, where do you find/download all the amazing fonts that you use? My font collection dates to my university days, possibly even slightly before, and most of them are of unknown provenance. I have bought some, I have acquired some through software, I have been given some for projects, I have been, all sorts of stuff like that, so I don't know where they've come from. I just know I've got a big folder called Fonts, full of fonts. David Williams says, hey Stu, are the British still with some resentment over the Falklands War? Kind of a sensitive question for some. No need for answer, just interested. It's not that sensitive, most people don't care. You might earn the ire of some if you said something like Los Malvinas son Argentinas, and then everything kind of turns into this debate about who was there first. The Argentines were there first. Honestly, I don't think most Argentinians care either. I think it's really just something for the ultra-nationalists to get worked up over. Mark Lee says, please tell me your opinion. Why is it most of the time, not always, that so many movie villains have an English accent? Also, any thoughts on the death of Christopher Lee? Sad news about Christopher Lee, but my word, what a career. As far as the English villains, it's probably because of the American-centric thing that Hollywood has going on. And, for a lot of people, the English kind of represent the evil empire. And, we're a pretty soft target. We're not exactly going to take offence if somebody takes the mick out of us, because it's all about the banter. And to be perfectly honest, I think the British actors that get cast in these roles rather enjoy the relevance. Paul Ulo says, how do you choose the quote that is in the title of the bonus? I just, pick something salient, something quotable, I suppose. Sometimes I'm left scrambling for something good. I should probably say something interesting. I think the best I've got so far is something about meat and potatoes. Epic Gaming says, what was your favourite childhood toy? The most important thing that I've ever owned as a child would probably be my computer, the Commodore Amiga from 1991 and the ZX Spectrum from around 87, 88. Those are my most, dearly treasured things. Are computers toys? Well, I got a lot of entertainment out of them, but as far as toys, I remember liking my Lego. I liked a lot of Lego stuff. I had a Lego train set, that was nice. I had a Brio train set before I had a Lego train set, that was also nice. And I have a fond remembrance of my Micro Machines collection. Win3 Apollo says, will you get Black Ops 3? Probably, yes. Even if I don't end up doing a series for it, there is still the option of doing weapons for Iconic Arms or similar. And it looks like there's a hunting bow, which would be quite cool for an episode, so if only for the sake of completeness, yeah, I guess I'll pick it up. Oliver Ballant says, Stu, what is your most played game? Over my entire gaming career, probably Civilization. Because, Civilization is the sort of game that takes a long time to play. And I've played quite a few games of Civilization. I would say probably Civilization 2, if I were forced to isolate it down to one. I think that was at my sort of peak free time and peak lack of buying new games. Kind of an intersection of two scenarios that led to me playing an awful lot of Civ 2. An awful lot. Hunter J.A. says, ahoy Stu, giving up on the banners being the same pattern? I thought they were cool, and I quite wanted to see the nuke symbol in different colours. It got a bit repetitive for my liking, all the same colours all the time, so instead I'm taking elements and colours from the projects that I'm working on, and incorporating them into the thumbnails. I might reuse some of them if I don't have anything to hand, but Nuclear Fruit has given me plenty of fodder for, for palettes and stuff like that. I've been doing a lot of original graphics. So, it's a nice way of reflecting what I'm currently working on. Anyway, let's talk about Nuclear Fruit. I'm still working on it. I've pretty much wrapped up the second episode now. There is still some revision to be done, some tweaking. I need to do a couple of passes and make sure everything's, all together. But it is now complete. I might add some stuff. I mean, there are some long stretches of gameplay that I might break up with additional graphics or other shots. But I could render it out and it would still, it would feel like a complete video, even if some sections were a little bit long. So that puts me at about 27 or 28 minutes of finished video, or near finished, which is quite a lot. I mean, that's half an hour. I think the total payload for Nuclear Fruit is going to be about an hour's worth of footage. So that would put me at approximately the halfway point. In terms of actual work, though, the planning and the prep and the graphics preparation, this would probably put me at about 65% of the way through the entire project. So there's some time left yet, but very soon I shall embark on the third episode. The third episode's already written, I just need to perform the voiceover, make sure, the script's okay, then start to put it together properly. So I'm hoping by the next time I speak to you, I'll have the third episode done and the fourth will be, on its way. Having such a long pause on my main channel, it pains me so, but when I do start uploading, there is going to be a lot of stuff. And hopefully, I'll be able to use that head start to have a more seamless transition to the next project, which will be Retro Hoy. So, ticking over, making progress, getting there. Hopefully it'll all be worth it. I do think this second episode, the space-themed one, it's really good. Anyway, I shouldn't oversell it. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.